Shall I start, sir?
Yes. So we can start.
Okay. Greetings and good evening, all. On behalf of the organizing units IEEE CS Madras, CSI Chennai chapter, and ACM Chennai, myself, Dr. Komathy, Chair, CSI Chennai, is pleased to welcome you all, the dignitaries and the participants, for the release of the book Anecdotes from the History of Computing, followed by the presentation of History of Modern Computing. So I now request Mr. H.R. Mohan, Chair Events, IEEE CS Madras, to give the welcome address. Please, sir.
Once again, greetings and good evening to one and all. On behalf of the organizing units IEEE Computer Society, CSI and ACM, I have great pleasure in extending a warm welcome to our guests, Professor Rajaraman, Professor Sadagopan, and Ms. Pushpita Ghosh, the members and my colleagues from the organizing units, participants who have joined from India and abroad in this Google Meet meeting platform, and those watching the YouTube streaming of this event. It is heartening to see many senior members of CSI who have long association with Professor Rajaraman have joined this meeting. Authoring book is a joy to Professor Rajaraman. No wonder he has published over 50 books in computer science and engineering, IT and related areas. We feel honored to launch his latest book, Anecdotes from the History of Modern Computing, in our forum, like what we did 2 years back with his 50th book, Groundbreaking Inventions in Information and Communication Technology. As indicated in our mailer, today's event agenda includes first address by Pushpita Ghosh, MD of PHI Learning, followed by address by Madam Dharma Rajaraman, the woman behind the author. Then the launch of the book and Felicitation, an address by Professor Sadagopan, founder director of IIIT Bangalore, and presentation by Professor Rajaraman, followed by Q&A and interaction with participants. Now it is my pleasure to formally introduce the guest of our today's evening program. Let me start first with Ms. Pushpita Ghosh. Ms. Pushpita Ghosh is the Managing Director of PHI Learning Private Limited, one of the leading publishers in India for over 6 decades, and is committed to publish low-cost, high-quality, affordable textbooks for the students in higher education across the globe. Ms. Pushpita is an alumna of Carmel Convent School, graduated from Lady Shriram College, and obtained management degree from International Management Institute, that is IMI, New Delhi. She has played a remarkable role in digital transformation at PHI Learning to keep pace with evolving technology and meeting the demand of modern book publishing. With her extensive knowledge and invaluable guidance, PHI Learning has successfully launched all its publications in digital format as well for the convenience of academia. In the year 2000, the Federation of Indian Publishers conferred upon her the Young Publishers Award for Excellence in Book Publishing. PHI Learning has published over 5,000 titles in print and digital formats under the imprint Eastern Economy Edition, that used to be called EEE editions, in virtually all disciplines ranging from engineering, sciences, business management, computer science, economics, IT, humanities, and social sciences, law, medical sciences to agriculture sciences. It may be of interest to highlight here that PHI had published the first book of Professor Rajaraman titled Principles of Computer Programming in early 70s, followed by around 30 plus books, including the most popular book, Fortran Programming. Following the footsteps of her father, late Mr. Ghosh, Mr. Ashok Ghosh, he used to join us in the earlier meetings, the founder, chairman, and managing director of PHI, who is referred as the father of Indian publishing. Ms. Pushpita is progressive in publishing and exploring new avenues for the company. I take this opportunity to thank Ms. Pushpita and the entire PHI team headed by Ms. Babita in organizing today's event. Earlier, we used to have Ms. Shivani from PHI to coordinate with us in close to about 12 plus author seminars. And our thanks to PHI for sharing the teaser content that containing three full chapters of the book being released today, and also extending 35% discount to our attendees till 15 September 2024. The next in the list of our guests to be introduced is Professor Sadagopan, whom I knew for over 3 decades. Professor Soumyanarayan Sadagopan, we fondly call him as SS, was the founding director of IIIT and retained as a director till July 2021. Earlier, he taught at IIT Kanpur during 79 to 95 and IIM Bangalore from 95 to 99, as well as at Rutgers University, USA during 1997 and ATI Bangkok, Thailand during 1990. He obtained his MS and PhD degrees from Purdue University, USA in the year 1979 and B Honors degree from Madras University in 1973. Professor Sadagopan's research work has appeared in reputed journals that include IEEE Transactions, European Journal of Operation Society, and Journal of Opt Theory and Application. He has authored 7 books. He was a featured columnist for the Times of India, the world's largest English newspaper. Professor Sadagopan has been associated with organizing numerous conferences. He was the general chair of the World Wide Web 2011, a prestigious international conference. Professor Sadagopan is a fellow of UK IEET, Computer Society of India, the Institution of Engineers India, and most recently ISMA. He is a senior member of IEEE and ACM too. He has won numerous awards that include Fulbright Fellowship in the year 1995, Champion of Humanity Award of Hindustan Chamber of Commerce in 2009, Rotary Honor Vocational Excellence by Rotary Northwest Bangalore District 3190 during the year 2013, Cisco NDTV Digital Pioneer Award in 2016, Distinguished Alumni Award from the College of Engineering, India in 2019, to name a few. Professor Sadagopan has consulted and advised and served on the boards of some of the largest private public sector corporations in India, such as Tata Motors, Ashok Leyland, Maruti Automotive, IOC, BHCL, NTPC, COEMPT, Globe Arena, 360 DM involved in education, National Stock Exchange, Bank of India, IOB, NPCI, NSCL, BWR in the BFI segment, Master, Infosys, TCS, Wipro, HP, the list goes on. Professor Sadagopan's contribution in education is highly commendable. Apart from being the founding director of IIIT Bangalore, he was a mentor director for IIIT NR, IIIT Dharma, MIIT in Myanmar, and board member of IIIT Bangalore, IIIT Delhi, IIIT DM Kanchipuram, IIIT Kottayam, and IBAB, as well as the founding chairman of MOSIP. Professor Sadagopan has been helping several startups that include GABS, Dev Square, Globe Arena, 8K Mind, Zip Dial, Little More, and many more. Currently, he advises Upgrad, Socially Good, Avesta, and Zero Labs, and App Sentinel. So, in fact, Professor Sadagopan's contribution both in the IT education is really commendable. Now, coming to the last guest, the hero of today's function, Professor V. Rajaraman. I am really fortunate in knowing Professor Rajaraman for close to 40 years, right from his SCRC days at IISc through CSI and from the Hindu, where we are involved in information dissemination services and online databases related activities. SCRC headed by Professor Rajaraman was providing SDI services to Indian researchers sourced from global research databases through National Center for Science Information at IISc. Professor Rajaraman, a doctorate from Wisconsin, is an emeritus professor of Supercomputer Education and Research Center at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Professor Rajaraman was a pioneer in computer science and electrical engineering. He started his career as a professor at IIT Kanpur. He stayed there from 1963 to 1982. Then he moved to IISc. He became the professor of computer science and chairman of Supercomputer Education and Research Center, and held the position from 1982 to 1994. And subsequently, he became the IBM Professor of Information Technology at Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research during the period 1994 to 2001. A Padma Bhushan awardee in 1998, Professor Rajaraman was also a recipient of Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize in 1976, the Homi Baba Prize by UGC, Om Prakash Bhasin Award, the ISTA Award for Excellence in Teaching Computer Engineering, Rasam Chokshi Award, the Zahir Medal by Indian National Science Academy. He is the Life Contribution Awardee of Indian National Academy of Engineering and the Computer Society of India. Professor Rajaraman received honorary doctorate from IIT Kanpur, the Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology, Sipur, and Dayal Bagh Institution, Agra, and Geetam University, Bangalore. Professor Rajaraman is a fellow of the Indian Academy of Sciences, the National Science Academy, the National Academy of Sciences, the Indian National Academy of Engineering, and the Computer Society of India. As an author of several well-established and highly successful computer books, numbering over 50, Professor Rajaraman has published many research papers in reputed national and international journals. He was a consultant to many prestigious companies, including TCS, ECIL, Bharat Electronics, SAIL, Elco, and HCL. He was a member of Electronics Commission of the Government of India from 1979 to 1982. During his tenure, he chaired a committee that recommended starting the MCA program, a unique program in India. He chaired another committee that liberalized the import of computers for software export. His report on supercomputers for India was a foundation to start the Indian Supercomputer Maker SIDA. With this introduction, let us proceed with the agenda of our event. Now let me request Ms. Pushpita Ghosh, MD of PHI Learning, to address the gathering for a few minutes. Over to Ms. Pushpita.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, first, good evening, and it is wonderful to be here. It is with immense pride and a very poignant joy that I wish to begin this session by honoring a remarkable individual, my father, Mr. Ashok Ghosh, who was also the chairman and managing director of PHI Learning. His association with PHI Learning is not just a professional connection. It is a testament to his lifelong commitment to the pursuit of knowledge and education. PHI Learning has been a cornerstone in the world of academic publishing, shaping minds, nurturing intellects across generations. My father's contribution to this esteemed institution reflects his passion for learning, his dedication to excellence, and his unwavering belief in the power of education. Being the founding chairman of PHI, he has not only been the strongest pillar of PHI Learning, but has also inspired countless publishers and academicians to strive for knowledge and growth. His journey with PHI Learning is a shining example of what it means to be truly dedicated to one's field, and it serves as an inspiration to all of us who have had the privilege of witnessing his work ethics and vision. I dedicate this moment to my father, Mr. Ashok Ghosh, a man whose life and career has been intertwined with the values and mission of PHI learning. His influence extends far beyond the pages of books he has helped to bring life. It is felt in his hearts and minds of those who have had the fortune to learn from him. He has worked all his life showing us the true meaning of dedication and excellence in both his work and personal life. Today, I am delighted to welcome you all to the webinar on anecdotes of the history of modern computing, featuring our distinguished professor, Professor V. Rajaraman. Professor V. Rajaraman is a pioneer in computer science education in India. He has made significant contributions to this field, particularly in the areas of computer organization, programming languages, and computer networks. His textbooks have guided countless students and professionals in understanding the complexities of computing. His association with PHI played a crucial role in building the foundation of computer science education in India. We published his first book, Principles of Computer Programming, in the late 60s, I think 1969. His computer books on Fortran, Fundamentals of Computers, Computer Programming in C, and of course many other titles remain popular all these years. Not only Professor Rajaraman, but also Mrs. Dharma Rajaraman has contributed to our computer science books indirectly by supporting Professor Rajaraman and directly by authoring books, A Computer, A Child's Play, and co-authoring Computer Primer. My father met Professor Rajaraman and Mrs. Dharma Rajaraman when Professor Rajaraman was in IIT Kanpur. And again, when he was there, he established the first academic program, Professor Rajaraman, in computer science in India at IIT Kanpur in 1965. And I think their association goes back that long. And, you know, from the anecdotes that I know and the stories that I know, I believe that when my father, Mr. Ghosh, he used to go to IIT Kanpur to meet Professor and Mrs. Rajaraman, he used to tell me that the dinner used to be confirmed. He knew that after working the whole day at IIT Kanpur, finally it would conclude at Professor Rajaraman's house. Today, we are privileged to have him, Professor Rajaraman, share his insights and experiences through captivating anecdotes that trace the fascinating history and journey of modern computing. These stories are not just about the technological advancements, but also the human ingenuity, the creativity, and perseverance that have driven this field forward. Also, I am so glad to have Professor S. Sadagopan on the panel, who gladly accepted to release the book. He's a well-known figure in the field of information technology and computer science in India. Again, I was introduced to him the first time at Bangalore Book Fair back in the 90s by my father. We are honored to have published his book, Management Information Systems, which helped institutes introduce this course and was adopted widely across India. Whether you are a seasoned professional, a student, or simply someone with an interest in the evolution of technology, I'm confident that this session will offer valuable knowledge and inspiration. I would like you to know that all our books are available in print and digital editions for the institutes and readers' convenience. Our ebooks come with features like searchability, note-taking, highlighting, and enhancing the learning experience for the students. So do visit us at www.phindia.com. Before I pass on the session to the next panelist, Mrs. Dharma Rajaraman, I would like to extend a warm thanks to Professor Rajaraman for taking time to share his wisdom. Also, I extend thanks to our other panelists, Professor Sadagopan, Dr. H.R. Mohan, Chair Events IEEE CS Madras, Dr. K. Komathy, Chair CSI Chennai, and Dr. P. Sakthivel, Chair ACM Chennai, and IEEE CS Madras, who took out their valuable time to attend this launch by PHI Learning. Thank you. Thank you very much. Auntie Dharma, you are next.
Mr. Pushpita, madam. Now, may I request Madam Dharma Rajaraman to address, kindly share your views about Professor Rajaraman, how you have been instrumental and encouraging him to write so many books.
Thank you, Mohan. Thank you very much. Respected Professor Sadagopan, Sri H.R. Mohan and his team, Dr. Sakthivel and Dr. Komathy, Mrs. Pushpita Ghosh, Mrs. Sagarika Ghosh, and Babita Mishra, and the PHI learning team, and all those assembled at this webinar, good evening. Due to all God's grace, we are meeting once again on the web for the release of Professor Rajaraman's latest book, Anecdotes from the History of Modern Computing. At the outset, I thank Sri H.R. Mohan and his team for organizing this meeting and requesting me to share my thoughts as a team member. The book, Anecdotes from the History of Modern Computing, being launched today, is Professor's 25th book, Silver Jubilee book. It has turned out to be a storybook in which the characters are real. Before briefing you about the book, I want to tell you about our book writing journey, which started in 1967, 57 years ago. Many of you here would not have been born then. The publication of Principles of Computer Programming, our first book, faced a lot of hurdles. Publishers in India were reluctant to publish it. Kya sa computer kahan bikega? As they felt there was no market for computer programming books in India. Neville Gosling, the then managing director of Prentice Hall of India, took up the challenge and agreed to publish it, provided we gave a camera-ready copy. Sri Ashok Ghosh was then the production manager of PHI. It was then that we were introduced to him, Ashok Dada. To the surprise of all, 2,500 copies of the first 3,000 copies pre-print run of the book were sold in 6 months. Thus began Professor's journey in book writing. It became his mission, our mission and passion. Other books followed, books on languages, Fortran 4, in fact he is known as Fortran Rajaraman, Pascal, COBOL, and C appeared, followed by those on numerical methods, computer design, information systems design, parallel computers, computer fundamentals, information technology, and e-commerce. This list is neither chronological nor exhaustive, only a sampling. The 24th and 25th books are on the history of computing. Professor started his career in computing in 1955. In these 69 years, close to 70, he has witnessed in person every single invention, innovation. The impact of these new technologies influenced his writings. The urge to write about the innovations and the people behind them became stronger. The result is with us today, the release of Anecdotes of the History of Modern Computing. Professor will tell you more about the contents of the book. The book originated as a series of articles titled Tidbits from the History of Computing that appeared in CSI, Computer Society of India Communications. Later, some articles were written for resonance, a student education journal published by the Indian Academy of Sciences. When the articles piled up, we felt with so much effort that had been put in, it would be worthwhile to convert them into a book, a solid book. Professor phoned up Sri Ashok Ghosh, who was not only his publisher, but had become a family friend, the whole family is a friend, of 5 decades, and inquired whether PHI Learning would be interested in publishing a book on the history of computing. He readily agreed. Not to worry, Professor Rajaraman was the sentence, classic sentence. Professor began revising his write-ups for the publication. On February 1st, 2024, we learned that Ashok Ghosh left us. A sudden shock, a rude shock. We had lost a very dear friend. Professor continued to write, and at the end of February 2024, emailed Pushpita, his daughter, who assumed charge of PHI Learning, about the book and whether PHI Learning would publish it. She readily agreed and fulfilled her father's last commitment. This is the first book by Professor Pushpita. This is the first book by Professor Pushpita has published. Thank you, Pushpita. Many friends and well-wishers have helped us by reviewing what Professor wrote. Professor has thanked each one of them in the preface of the book. I also thank PHI Learning editors for their assistance. I especially thank my sister, Dr. Vasanta Shivaramakrishnan, for her immense help and support. Finally, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to Professor Sadagopan, a friend for more than 5 decades, right, for agreeing to release the book. We are honored, Dr. Sadagopan. My special thanks to HR Mohan and the Chennai Professional Society's team for arranging this event. I always thought that HRM, Human Resource Manager, is an apt acronym for Mohan. HRM. His enthusiasm and dynamism are unparalleled. I wish him good health for continuing his selfless service to the profession. He's a role model for many of us, actually. I sincerely trust all of you will enjoy reading this Silver Jubilee book, a story book, almost an encyclopedia book of Professor, and it will reach a wide audience. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Dharma Rajaraman, for your background about the professor writing books, and also, I think part of what Professor Sadagopan would prefer to speak, I think you have covered. Looks like that. Now over to Professor Sadagopan. Now, sir, it is your turn to launch the book, felicitate Professor Rajaraman, and also address us. Professor Sadagopan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mohan. Thank you for your kind words. Is my audio okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Namaskara, namaskaram, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Good evening. And because people have joined from multiple time zones, also good morning and good afternoon. I am honored, privileged, and proud to be doing the honor of releasing this book, Anecdotes from the History of Modern Computing, by the Bhishma Pitamaha of Computing in India, Professor V. Rajaraman, and my longtime friend. Thanks to CSE, IEEE, and ACM, especially to Mr. Mohan, Sakthivel, and Komathy Madam for giving me this honor. Let me first formally release the book. Mr. Mohan, is it the video clear?
Yeah, sir, Professor Rajaraman, I think you have to come closer. Professor Rajaraman, you have to come closer.
So please mute yours, Mr. Pushpita.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ah,
this is
yes,
the
yes.
formal release of the book. Let me
Okay.
hand over to Professor Rajaram.
Sir, I think slightly lift it up.
Yeah.
Professor Sadagopan,
Yeah.
to your left, slightly move it to your left. Okay, yeah, just hold on. I think modern, 1 minute, just hold on, sir. I'm taking. Sir, Professor Rajaraman, madam, come closer.
Not
Come
closer to
please.
the mic.
Become a
They're
photographer.
very shy to come closer.
Hey,
At this
Yeah,
age,
right.
they're very shy to come closer.
I think Kundu, please let Professor Rajaram to join. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
Very
I
nice.
think 1 minute, 1 minute, Professor. I think, sir, still you are
Hold
far
it
away.
for a longer period.
Kundu, please. Yeah, Kundu, please. Yeah, Professor Rajaraman, you are, no, you don't have to show the book, sir, Professor. Professor Sadagopan is showing the book.
Okay.
Sir, to Professor Sadagopan, to your right, slightly move to your right. Book.
But you are hiding.
Yeah, I think, okay, 1 minute. 1 minute.
No. Same right.
Yeah, konja.
Still more right. Still more right.
No, to your right. Konja right.
Shoulder
Okay.
cover பண்ணுங்க sir. அவ்வளவுதான்.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not face.
Okay.
Now it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I
Glare,
think,
glare ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ.
okay, sir. Great, sir.
Too much glare. Too much glare.
Too much glare. Sorry.
Yeah, glare is there.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fine. So, or can you just move it to the right side full?
Okay, is it better now?
I think, yeah, slightly better.
Much
Yeah.
better now, right?
Yeah, konja to the left. Konja left. Move it left. Fantastic, sir. Looks fine.
Okay.
Yeah, very good, sir. Right, sir. Okay. Now we have the photo shot is over. You
Okay.
can start talking.
Thank you. Okay. So I think all of you have listened, kind of joined to listen to Professor Rajaraman. I should not take too much time. So what I will do is I will take about 8 minutes. And let me kind of start with 3 anecdotes because the book is all about anecdotes. Okay. And see, I knew Professor Rajaraman for a long time. In fact, 1971, I read his first book. At that time, I knew Professor Rajaraman, but he did not know me because I was still a student. 79, when I joined IIT Kanpur, from the very day one, I knew him. He was the senior colleague to which all of us used to look up to. And then until 1982. And then, of course, he moved to the Indian Institute of Science, and the whole nation was looking at Professor Rajaraman. Actually, he was creating the supercomputing education and research for the whole country. And of course, 1999, when IIIT Bangalore started, I've been having lots of help from Professor Rajaraman. He was in my many committees, including the review committees, Senate, etc. So it's been a kind of 45 plus years, a long association. It's been so nice. But let me start with the first anecdote. I think it is important for people to know the stature because my students keep asking me. I actually use this story just to get that message across. In early 2000, there was an event where a large number of academics and researchers from US have assembled, been invited by one of the software companies' research wing in India. They have also invited some 100 academics and researchers from all over the country. And the host had to introduce Professor Rajaraman. And this is how Professor Rajaraman was introduced. Let me quote. In this hall, ladies and gentlemen, we have Professor Rajaraman. And we also have a large number of researchers, both from academia and industry, who happen to be Professor Rajaraman students. In fact, there are many more researchers, again, both from academia and industry, who happen to be students of his students, unquote. The hall is full of Professor Rajaraman and his students and students, okay? And that is what is Professor Rajaraman. The second anecdote is about Dharma ji. I joined IIT Kanpur in 1979. I used to be very close to students, and I used to hear this name, Dharma ji, very often. I asked the students, what makes them remember her so often? And Pat came a very cryptic reply. Let me quote, "Sir, but for Dharma ji, the happiness quotient of IIT Kanpur would be just less than half. The happiness quotient of IIT Kanpur would be less than half without Dharmaji," unquote. That summarizes what Dharmaji is all about. And of course, she has grown a lot along with Professor over the many years. The third one is interesting because I keep telling my students, because sometimes it is nice to kind of use their lingo. Everyone knows C++ programming language, and we, the programmers, know that plus plus isn't self-incrementing. 9 becomes 10, A becomes B, etc. So B plus plus is C. What is the connection? The connection is simple. The whole world has a very successful program called MBA, Master of Business Administration. But the only country that has a MCA, Master of Computer Applications, is India. And what is MCA? It is MBA plus plus, because the B plus plus becomes C, right? And that is how MCA was formed. And who created MCA? It is none other than Professor Rajaraman. He headed a committee that led to the MCA. And remember that the Indian IT services industry would have run out of fuel. The fuel for the industry is people, right? Trained manpower. The Indian IT services industry would have run out of fuel for the MCA. And that was his creation. Let me spend 2 minutes just about the core message of this book, what I liked most about it. So I think the first one is stay relevant. Often you hear younger colleagues, sometimes students, talking of the difficulty in coping up with new developments, new research, not getting trained well. The new technology has come, I don't have the training, what do I do, etc. I normally tell them, take inspiration from Professor Rajaraman. In the 72 stories, he covers ENIAC, the very first computer, to ChatGPT of yesterday, November 22. Nearly development over 72 years in 72 stories. And it cuts across networks, databases, applications, operating systems, even hardware, microprocessors, everyone. And I think he also puts it so nicely. At the same time, it is not a story writing, so it is with a sufficient amount of depth. So how do you span this huge varieties of area? And everyone talks of difficulty to cope up with. And even at he's 90 plus and still able to cope up with. I think that is important for us to draw inspiration. The second one is even more interesting, the story format, the anecdotes format. Makes it so easy to read. I have been kind of doing it for the last about 42 days, every day one chapter. And the format is so nice because it is kind of short enough that we can read it in one go, typically about 25 minutes, 20 minutes. At the same time, there's something you remember. And stories are also great because you remember that much better. And I think hats off to Professor Rajaraman. A scholarly writing, at the same time, so immensely readable. Okay. Let me take a couple of more minutes. One about the PHI. Ghosh Saab is very special to me. Been kind of 40 years. And, it's quite a shock that he is no longer with us. And millions of students over the last 5 decades benefited from PHI, what is called the affordable books. And in the history of computing will be written, and Ghosh Saab's name will be written in gold letters. I am glad that Pushpita is continuing the tradition. Before I close, let me kind of take a minute. There are lots of people who are so happy to be joining it. Many of them have joined. Many of them are also probably watching it over the YouTube. One of them specifically said that, look, I will be happy if you can read it out as part of the speech. This is from Alok Day, the former CTO of Samsung. I quote, During 1984-85, 40 years back in IIT Kharagpur, I learned photon programming from Professor Rajaraman's book to do a project in image texture analysis using large size PDP machines, unquote. This is from Alok Day. He's on the line. Okay. So before kind of closing, we professors have the bad habit of giving a homework at the end of every lecture. So let me give a homework. Okay. First, to many of the students, I do expect that over the next 72 days, you should probably buy this copy and start reading one chapter every day. Maybe over the next about couple of months or couple of months or quarters, we should have at least 72,000 students who have purchased the copy and making Pushpita's job miserable because you have to keep printing more and more copies. Okay, and that will be great. And of course, we can take liberty with Professor Rajaraman, know him well. So homework to him also. Sir, this comes from me and Professor Narahari. Professor Narahari feels you must be already at it, but we are just taking, okay? So we do want a book in another 1 or 2 years on generative AI. This is a homework to Professor Rajaraman. And you see, I am a Sri Vaishnava. The Sri Vaishnavas belong to what is called the Pushti Sampradaya. We have a very interesting relationship with God. It's not just we worship him. We kind of fight with him, we scold him and all that. So I take the liberty of giving homework to the God. Okay. Hey, Lord, do give this 90-year young Professor Rajaraman and Dharma Rajaraman happy, healthy life for at least 90 more years. Okay. So thank you. And thanks everyone for listening to me, and a great opportunity. I hope I did not take more than 8 minutes. Thank you. Over to you, Mohan.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Sadagopan, for your, I think as expected, I knew you'll be giving homework. Thanks. And making further to do little more work, and particularly in the changing scenario on artificial intelligence. Over to Professor Rajaraman, please.
Good evening, all of you. Thank you very much, Professor Sadagopan, for your very kind words. It's indeed, your wish for me to live for 90 more years. I hope it doesn't come true, because I don't think I'll be able to move around if I live that long. Anyhow, as long as I am able to live, I hope I'll be able to write. Okay. At the outset, I'd like to thank Mr. Mohan for arranging this event. And as usual, he's super efficient. He has done, I wonder how he's able to organize so many events month after month after month, and have them all go very successfully. And thank you very much, Mr. Mohan, for organizing this event. I also would like to thank CSI Chennai, Dr. Komathy and Dr. Sakthivel for providing the platform for this event. I'd like to thank Pushpita and PHI learning team, Babita Mishra, Ms. Lakshmi Kumar, for assisting me in bringing out the book. Pushpita, I know for a long time. I think probably from the time she was a girl. So it's a long association, as she pointed out. Let me now say something about how the book started. Sometime in the middle of 2019, I felt that CSI Communications was getting somewhat dull, and it would be interesting to put a small write-up in each issue on the history of computing. And I wrote to the editors of CSI Communications. At that time, Dr. E.D. Sharma, Dr. S.S. Agarwal, and Dr. Ritika Vasan that I would like to write short anecdotes on the history of computing. I call them tidbits from the history of computing, each about 2 pages of sales and communications, so that it will be very useful for general readers to get an idea of how the computing field evolved over time. And they readily agreed and invited me to write the articles. So I started writing, and the first article, which was on CPM and its inventor, Gary Kildall, came out in August 2019. In fact, those of you who started using microcomputers in the early days would have used CPM, the first operating system for microcomputers. And I had known overall plan about the tidbits. I started writing them as in whatever topic interested me. I wrote a tidbit on that, and each tidbit was restricted to 2 pages of CSI. It's approximately 1,300 words of writing, and each tidbit was self-contained and it could be read independently. I continued to write them, each one on a milestone in the evolution of computing. And in fact, before the tidbit was fully published, I used to send it to a colleague who was an expert in that area to get feedback and to improve whatever I wrote. And they're all obliged and immediately responded. And so before any tidbit appeared, at least it had one expert view through it and comments of an expert. After I wrote the 18th tidbit, CSI Communications ceased publication. And of course, I don't want to go through those problems. It still persists, and CSI Communication has not yet resumed publication. But having started this writing, I felt that I should not stop, so I should continue. And I continued to write, but now without the constraint of 1,300 words, because I had now the freedom to write longer anecdotes, but I still wanted to keep it short, not more than about 2,000 words. But of course, some tidbits I couldn't follow this algorithm of 2,000 words. And but anyhow, kept it as short as possible. I wanted to make the tidbits broad-based. I looked at all the areas of hardware, software, computer communications, applications, and AI. And while I was writing tidbits, history also was evolving. History of computing evolved. And in May 2022, the exaflop barrier in supercomputing was broken by 3HP Frontier computer, and in November 2022, ChatGPT appeared. So history was evolving as I was writing. So I had to write articles on these, and so I wrote those articles and sent them to Resonance, a student journal of the Indian Academy of Sciences, and Dr. Suri, the chief editor, very kindly agreed to publish them. And so some of the write-ups came in Resonance. So I continued to keep my brain cells active and kept on writing. And as I went on writing, I sent each of the tidbits to 4 of my good friends, Professor P.C.B. Bhatt, Dr. N. Dayasindhu, Professor R. Govindarajan and Dr. S. Ramani, they all promptly read each article and gave me their feedback. Besides these 4 people, I also sent it to others who had special knowledge of any particular topic on which I wrote. And they all obliged. And I think it's a long list, and the list of names appears in the preface, thanking them. I had no idea of a book. However, when I looked at the literature, I found that many of the history books on computing were written by historians. And their history started with Babbage, who built the first mechanical computer in 1832. And it started with Babbage's machine and continued on. And short of more modern developments, they mostly stopped around 1990 or so. And they're also written from a historian's perspective. And they're all big about large tomes of history. I came across a quote by Rudyard Kipling, which said, if history were taught in the form of stories, it would never be forgotten. So when I read this quote by Kipling, I felt that my idea of presenting history as a set of short stories or anecdotes would be a different approach to writing history. When I wrote to one of my friends about my idea of a book called Tidbits from the History of Computing, he said that Tidbits looks very informal, almost flippant. So I changed the Tidbits to Anecdotes. So I decided to rename Tidbits from the History of Computing to Anecdotes from the History of Modern Computing. I added the word modern computing because I wanted to start only with the advent of the electronic computer, namely the ENIAC, which came out in 1946. The dictionary meaning of anecdotes is a short, amusing, or interesting story about a real incident or a person. It's a formal definition, and I hope that many of my anecdotes do have some little story about people who invented it and the hurdles they passed before making the invention useful. After I finished writing most of the anecdotes, and it became nearly a book, I phoned up Mr. Ghosh and asked him. I also sent him some samples of the anecdotes and asked him whether PHA would be interested in publishing those. He immediately agreed, right away, no hesitation. Now I had to start serious work because I had a publisher, I had a set of anecdotes written and ready, but not complete in all respects. I reread all the tidbits I had written to CSI and the articles I wrote to Resonance and put them in a proper format and added new material, including the material on exaflop computer and ChatGPT and all the latest developments till 2022. And as I said, I decided to restrict the history from 1946. I enumerated the milestones of the computing, and because I entered computing field in 1955, and so I lived through almost all the inventions which have taken place. I completed some of the anecdotes were missing in terms of there are some gaps in what I had written, and I tried to fill the gaps, particularly computer games, expert systems, robotics, open source software movements, Raspberry Pi development, and ChatGPT. History is normally presented in a chronological order. This presented me with a challenge because many of the inventions did not take place precisely in a particular year. They took many years to evolve. Like internet, the ARPANET started in 1979, and the first internet was announced in 1993. Computer games evolved over about 30 years. And robotics also evolved over about 20, 30 years. So all of these, so I decided to pick the first significant development in that area but then topics like the internet had to be split up into many parts, like the ARPANET and then how the domain name system evolved and so on. So there are about 5 or 6 anecdotes which put together constitute what the internet is today. And so after ordering them in a form, I was now ready to publish it. The number of anecdotes became 72, and became a little too long. And there are 34 hardware-related anecdotes, 9 system software-related, 10 computer communication-related, 12 applications-related, and 7 AI-related. Each anecdote is self-contained, and you may read it in any order. Hardware anecdotes start with the design of ENIAC, 1946, followed by the pioneering British Manchester small-scale computer called Manchester Baby. It's called small-scale experimental machine. It had all of 64 words and a Williams tube memory and 7 instructions. Then the first stored program electronic computer which was built. ENIAC, in fact, became stored program a little later. At the beginning, it was not completely stored program. It was with a set of plug boards on which wires are connected for programming. And these are connected by ladies who were called programmers. In fact, they were called computers in those days. And it is followed by Wilkes at SAC, the Leo computer, one of the first commercial machines, Whirlwind, the first real-time computer, which introduced the idea of magnetic core memory, IBM 1401, the favorite machine of business data processing, IBM 650, 7000 series, Manchester University's Atlas computer, which introduced virtual memory for the first time, IBM 360 family, CDC 6600, the very first supercomputer, the Cray series of supercomputers, DEC computers, Intel 4004, the first microcomputer, advent of Apple computers, IBM PC, RISC, rise and fall of workstations, Osborne's portable computer, Caltech's Cosmic Cube, transmitter-based computers, connection machine, ETA-10 supercomputer, Beowulf cluster, mobile computers, GPUs, teraflop, petaflop computers, Raspberry Pi, a $35 computer, and ends with Cray SPE Frontier, the most expensive and the fastest computer in the world today. And the system software anecdotes include the birth of Fortran, COBOL, CTSS, a time sharing system, BASIC and .NET time sharing system, Project Mac, birth of the Unix, CPM, MS-DOS, Windows OS, and free open source software movement. Application-related anecdotes include, this is not exhaustive list, they include DBMS, RDBMS, computer graphics, cryptography, spreadsheet programs, computer games, electronic payment systems, multimedia, digitization and compression, World Wide Web, search engines, and the Facebook story. Computer communication include packet switching, ARPANET, AlohaNet, LAN, Minitel, the famous French system, Internet evolution, Wi-Fi, and cloud computing. AI-related anecdotes include John McCarthy's coining of the word AI, programs to play board games like chess, neural networks, expert systems, robotics, chatbots, from Eliza to Alexa, and ChatGPT, and the current AI assistants. After Mr. Ghosh agreed to publish the book in December 2023, as I said, I wrote the book. When I almost completed the book, I received the shocking news that Mr. Ghosh is no more with us. But I had faith in PHI learning. I continued to write. And the book was ready by the end of February 2024. I phoned up Ms. Pushpita, who had taken over as the MD of PHI. And on 28th February 2024, and told her about my book. And she immediately said PHI Learning would publish it. I gave access to my G drive, which had the book, to the PHI editors, and the editorial board, guided by Mrs. Babita Mishra and processed by Mr. Lakshmi Kumar, was my contact. And they started serious work right away on March 1st, 2024. Team sent me the anecdotes in batches for me to proofread and answer editors' queries and any revision required. I dedicate this book to Mr. Ghosh, who produced my first book, Principal Computer Programming, in 1969, and was my publisher and friend since then. I miss his pleasant interactions with him. Book was ready for the printers on 30th April 2024. Very fast. From March, it took just about 2 months to be ready. And Ms. Pushpita Ghosh messaged me on June 5th that the book was ready for release. It was immediately released. Looking back, this is the first book I have written, which did not have a plan at the beginning. There's no deadline to meet, so I wrote it at my leisure. It was written primarily for my pleasure and for keeping my brain cells active. Unless you keep your brain cells active as you age, I think you will lose them, like your muscles, if you don't use them regularly. Most of the other books I have written are textbooks, which are intended for students. They're all very clearly planned, and most of them were written to be used as a text in the courses I taught. And in fact, many books, particularly the language books like Pascal, C, and so on, were written for me to learn the language. Because when I started writing the books on languages, Pascal didn't exist, the C didn't exist. So as I went on writing, new languages appeared, and to learn that language, the best way I found was to write a book about them. And that's the reason I had books on COBOL, C, and so on. All the books I try to keep it below 350 pages so that the cost will be affordable to students. But this book became a little too long, 496 pages plus 15 prelim pages, my longest book, over 500 pages. It covers history from 1946 to 2022. I enjoyed writing it, and I trust you, the readers, will have the same experience while you read it. And I welcome from you any comments you may have after you read the anecdotes, so that next edition I can improve the book. Thank you. Any questions you may have?
Yes, sir.
I'm ready to answer.
Very, we are in entire IT community. I'm MD Agrawal is indebted to you, sir. Your guidance and all the time, your excellence in knowledge which you kept sharing to even at this higher age. This is I think, unimaginable. I will request publisher to immediately share the link to purchase this book. I want to purchase today itself. I'm not getting the chat link over here. I don't know what is the problem. Sir, whenever I will come Bangalore, I'll try to seek appointment and like to touch your feet.
Oh, I'll be willing to meet you.
Thank you, sir.
Mohan, sir, can I present the questions? Okay, sir. This is Dr. Komathy.
Yeah.
I would like to present few questions collected from participants during the registration. And
Okay.
I'm happy to present them to Professor Rajaraman. The first question is an assistant library in charge. He wants to know the differences between ENIAC and EDVAC.
Between ENIAC and EDVAC.
Okay, yeah.
ENIAC, the EDVAC was the first machine to have a real memory. It used a acoustic delay line memory, and in fact, ENIAC was the first model of ENIAC did not have a memory at all. It had primarily plug boards. The next model, they used some registers, and about 16 registers or so, small number of registers as a memory. And so a large memory is required for writing large programs, and EDVAC's major contribution was the acoustic delay line memory, which was built by Professor Maurice Wilkes at Cambridge University.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Retired Professor Prabhu, he has asked a question: influence of mathematics on the evolution of computer science. Any comments?
Well, of course, mathematics is the mother of all sciences. Even though in my anecdotes I have not specifically brought in the mathematical developments in computer science, the algorithm developments are all dependent on basic mathematics. And in fact, most of the work which is related to time sharing and so on depends on queuing theory. So, in fact, the foundation of many of the hardware which comes up is based on the basic mathematical underpinning which is there. And the underpinning is important for the subject to develop.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The next question is it possible to promote the next generation computing? May ask question if human commit mistake or logical error.
Well, it's not very clear. What exactly?
Yeah, again, I'll read it. Is it possible to promote next generation computing? May ask a question if human commit mistake or logical error.
Oh, that's what the AI programs nowadays
try
to do.
It, sir.
I mean,
yes,
in fact, the Copilot programs and the GetHeap and so on are having AI look at the program and try to kind of point out errors in the program.
Yes.
So it is hoped that in about decade or so, you can get to a state where you can very clearly specify the requirements of a program, and the machine and the AI system will automatically take those specifications and create a program for you. Because programming as by itself is clerical. What is more interesting is the algorithm development. So if an algorithm is properly developed and just presented, the programming language and the equivalent error-free logically correct program may be generated by a machine.
Thank you, sir.
I expect it to happen in about a decade or so.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The next question is, based on history, how do you see that quantum computing will influence the landscape of computing in general?
Well, a lot of things in quantum computing are counterintuitive, particularly having some bit in both the 0 and 1 state. And as of today, there is a lot of difficulty in constructing a hardware which is reasonably large. But then there's a lot of work going on, and the method of thinking and method of writing algorithms have to undergo a change, because we are in a new territory of superposition and action at a distance and so on. And but then there is a fear that all the current cryptography will all be no use at all when quantum computers come, because factoring a large number into a prime number into the subsequent parts is something which is difficult by existing methods. By quantum methods is supposed to kind of make it very easy. So in fact, cryptographers are worried. They're looking at new methods of cryptography called quantum cryptography to kind of resist quantum computers when they come. And maybe, I mean, currently the machines are very small in size, and maybe in a decade things will change quite a bit. And I may not be around to see that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. The next question is from retired senior general manager Sushant Kumar. He has asked, scared of AI riding over human, what's next?
AIs are not, they're guided by humans. They will not overtake us. All said and done, it's an assistant, okay? And it will assist us. The way we use AI is important, okay? We should not let AI take us over, which hopefully will not happen.
Okay, sir. Mr. Om Vikash, advisor, he has asked a question. It would be advisable to get this book translated in Hindi and other languages through IKS and at IISc.
Well, Dr. Om Vikash, why don't you take the initiative to make it into Hindi? My Hindi is not good enough to do a translation.
Okay. Okay, sir. Next question. Can you just highlight on usage of Sanskrit knowledge in improvement of computer functionality or performance?
I don't know much about this area.
Okay.
Except that the early Paninian grammar has been very effective in the development of grammars, and particularly Bacchus noun form and other grammatical structures in computing and computer languages. So Sanskrit has got a very, what I would say, very scientific grammar, a very, very, very clear grammar. And that definitely would help in computing languages.
So today the chat box, Dr. Gerald has posted, why is the importance of computer hardware gone?
It's not gone. Computer hardware, without hardware, you can't do anything. Hardware is there. I mean, without hardware, how can you use a machine? I mean,
No, because he might be
hardware-
telling that the career opportunities are more towards the software industry rather than the hardware. That's what he meant, I think.
No, hardware. In fact, the coming of the latest high-speed computers, that the
Yes, sir.
in fact,
Quantum computing,
today,
everything.
new developments are taking place in hardware. The exaflop machine, which has come, has changed, revolutionized the way in which computers are built. And in fact, every day unless, for instance, we have better secondary memories like SSDs, machines will not function as fast as they do today. So I think by and large, hardware is underpinning, and of course, software is over it. As far as India is concerned, we have emphasized on software because we have been left behind in hardware. Currently, the entire world is worried about to 3 nanosecond nanometer technology, which has now become monopoly of one company in Taiwan. And America is spending a lot of money to entice them to come back to US and start foundries there. So the hardware is improving day by day. And you're putting so much, billions of transistors in a chip. The chips are becoming, and today's AI would have been impossible without GPUs.
Yes.
GPUs have so large number of transistors. So one can't say that hardware is not important. Hardware is the underpinning for which we develop all our software. AI would be, as I said, current chat GPT would have been impossible without GPUs.
The another question posted in the chat box is, what caused the disappearance of the BBC microcomputer or its future variants and other OSs survived through 2 or more decades? With the emergence of embedded computing, would BBC micro variants return?
Okay, in fact, the BBC was overtaken by the IBM PC generation because once IBM PC came, most of the other architectures more or less went under. In fact, the work done by the Cambridge group on $35 computer was primarily as a successor to BBC machine to make these machines, $35 machines, available to students so they can carry it with them and play around with hardware and create software for it. So I think the cheapest computers today are particularly useful.
Thank you,
Not
sir.
only in embedded systems, but in creating one's own small system.
Thank you so much, sir. Is there, participants, if you want to ask them directly, you can unmute your mic and ask. Anyone would like to ask him directly? Please unmute and ask.
Yes, sir, which anecdote surprised you the most? And another question, I read the book. When do you think we can have anecdotes from India?
Well, among the anecdotes, the most interesting thing for me was the way in which IBM let go of its preeminence by big strategic error in making IBM PC open source and then also outsourcing most of the work on IBM PC to others. So by outsourcing software to Bill Gates, MS-DOS came up like anything, and Bill Gates made a very important strategic decision. So asking IBM the contract that he was free to give it to anybody and it is not proprietary to IBM. Till then, everything was proprietary to IBM. When it became non-proprietary, clones came up. And clones came up and they had ready operating system available. And also the hardware which IBM made was from off-the-shelf components. So from being a preeminent machine company where everything was closed, when they made it open, primarily to kind of get the IBM PC onto the market in 1 year, they lost their leadership. In a way, it's very good because the monopoly was gone and many people got into the market again. But the most interesting part to me, one of the anecdotes was interesting, was how IBM lost its game.
Thank you, sir. One more participant, can you just, if you want, you can.
The question is asked. Well, I think
Last question. Last question.
Good idea. I think there are books which have been written on the history of computing in India. I think maybe, in fact, Dayasundu has written one, and I wrote a monograph, and there are many other books also have been written. So at least there are 3 or 4 books on the history of computing in India, and maybe you can take it up and look at it and look at small incidents which happened and make it into anecdotes. You are giving me an idea. Let me think about it.
Yeah, Kundu, you can. Yeah, I can ask. Kundu.
Good evening. I first appreciate Mohan for organizing such a wonderful session, and I request Professor Rajaraman to share these thoughts in the written form, and so that all of us can be benefited subsequently. We have heard certain things. I want you to share this talk through Mohan to all the participants here, and those who could not participate, they can also listen. Such a
I think it's
knowledge, how many people will be having?
No. See, the whole thing is in YouTube, so they can always watch.
Okay. Send me the link in that.
Yeah. The link
Sure.
will send. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. When do you propose to come to Calcutta, sir? Rajaraman sir.
Sure.
When do you propose to come to Calcutta?
Well, I'm not traveling much nowadays.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, sir. So then shall I go for vote of thanks, sir?
Yeah. Any other? Just you can one.
Any other?
1 second,
Yeah. Any other question?
From participants who want to interact with Professor Rajaraman, please unmute
please.
yourself and then talk. Gopal, you want to speak? Gopal?
Thank you.
What
Thank
will
you
be
very
the
much.
big milestone that you foresee
Venkata
for the
Subramaniam, can
future?
you just mute yours? Yeah. Dr. Gopal sir, TV Gopal sir, please. Dr. TV Gopal sir, please. You can
Thank
interact
you.
now.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
No,
Thank
please,
you.
Bhanumati ma'am, please.
Yeah, thank you so
Wait.
much. I'm so blessed to see our Rajaraman sir and wife. I had visited his house sometime, and wife gave me an apple. She said, "I don't want you to go without taking anything." I will never forget the treatment I had in their house. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Nice to meet you, ma'am. Thank you, Professor sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can't see your face. I can't see your face. Please put the video on. Whoever is talking, yes. Please put the video on. Oh yeah. Bhanumati.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Come
Gopal
again.
sir. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, in your studies on these anecdotes. Has there been any case where it is not related to computing, but it has impacted computing, both hardware, systems, and software? It has impacted.
What I'm not.
Repeat the question, sir.
It's this here from Anna University. I can catch you on the mail as well. Is there anything that has not been directly connected to hardware, software, and the system, but it has impacted computing? Is there any such anecdote?
Not related to hardware, but
Not related to any of the computer related things. Not really. I think all of them have some relationship to some aspect of computing. Otherwise, it won't find a place in my book.
Thank you, sir. So
Yeah,
let me go.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Myself giving the vote of thanks. On the outset, I thank the organizing units jointly arranging this book release event today. We thank all our distinguished guests of today's event, Professor Rajaraman, the author of the book, Professor Sadagopan, Mrs. Dharma Rajaraman, Ms. Pushpita Ghosh, for spending their valuable time with us today to release the book, Anecdotes from the History of Computing, authored by Professor V. Rajaraman. My heartfelt thanks goes to Professor Rajaraman for his presentation of History of Modern Computing and for clarifying the question raised by the participants offline and as well as online. I sincerely thank our mentor, Mr. H.R. Mohan, Chair Events, IEEE CS Madras, who successfully arranged this book release event for the benefit of the members. I'm thankful to the participants who joined us in live Google Meet and YouTube live streaming. I thank the event team members of the organizing units for their support in organizing this event. With these warm words, we move to the end of today's event. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Now, close, recording close, please. Live streaming close, please.
Thank you, professors.
Thank you.